And in sports, Ohio softball welcomes a new head coach. Newswatch starts right now. Good evening, I'm Lexi Lepoff. Welcome to Newswatch, your source for news impacting southeastern Ohio. Residents of East Palestine are now able to return to their homes. Governor Mike DeWine announced the end of the evacuation today at a press conference with first responders in East Palestine this morning. Before returning to homes, residents are asked to refer to the Safe Return Traffic Plan on the county website. The EPA was testing for chemicals in the area of the crash, and the results, according to DeWine, show air levels are reportedly back to normal. The Ohio Environmental Protection Agency is continuing to test drinking water in the area. Officials at today's conference say that agencies are willing to go and test homes if residents are skeptical of moving back into the area. More news on the train derailment. West Virginia Governor Jim Justice says chemicals from the controlled release have made their way into the Ohio River. In a press conference earlier today in Weirton, West Virginia, Justice said city officials switched to alternative water supplies due to contaminated water. The Republican governor says officials moved quickly with an abundance of caution. Local environmental advocacy groups are criticizing state and federal officials for their handling of the train derailment. David Mazer of the executive director of Penn Environment is calling for more transparency from freight rail companies. He says he was shocked how long it took agencies to disclose the chemicals on the train. Mazer is now calling on state and federal government to reroute trains carrying hazardous materials away from populated areas. Wow, so a lot of crazy news stuff happening, but aside from that, the weather today was actually quite nice. Can we expect that the rest of the week?
Well, unfortunately, no. That weather is, it was nice today. It was associated with high pressure that we've actually had in the region here. But as we move on towards tomorrow or through today, we'll actually see that won't actually continue. We'll see some rain into our region. Now, Athens today, you did see those temperatures were nice. We had a high of around 55 degrees. Now those temperatures are dropping as we get closer through the night now with the overnight hours. But we do actually have a system that is making its way into the region, and it's actually bringing in a risk of high winds. Now, before we get there, you'll see across the region, Athens, 55 degrees currently, and then you have up towards Columbus, temperatures are a little bit colder, closer to that high pressure system. And then down low here in Charleston and Huntington, West Virginia, you'll actually see those temperatures are still just as warm as here in Athens, if not a little bit warmer. Now, the National Weather Service has issued that wind advisory here for southeastern Ohio, and then even parts of northwestern Ohio has a high wind advisory. Now, those wind advisories associated with high wind gusts here in Athens, we're expected to see those gusts be at a maximum peak of 50 miles per hour. Now, those wind gusts aren't expected to be continued as they are gusts, but that's all I have for first weather. Back to you at the desk, Lexi.
A former fiscal officer from Vinton County is sentenced to 4 years and 11 months after pleading guilty to stealing public funds. Cyril Viersta stole just under $300,000 in public money for personal expenses and costs from the Union Ridge Wildlife Center he operated. Viersta was also ordered to pay over $300,000 in restitution from stolen funds and audit cost. Viersta was charged with a misdemeanor count of dereliction of duty and pled guilty to engaging in a pattern of corrupt activity, theft in office, and tampering with records. He made fake invoices, billing slips, and other fraudulent documents to hide his activities. Ohio Lieutenant Governor John Husted is proposing a new bill that could require certain online gaming and social media companies to get parental consent before children under the age of 16 can use their platforms. The proposal was presented at the Ohio General Assembly last week. The social media companies would be required to create a method of determining if the child is under 16, then get valid legal guardian consent and send confirmation of the consent to the guardian. Companies are required to deny access without consent to the terms of service. If signed into law, companies will have 90 days to follow. Ohio Rail Commission applied for the first phase of funding to study expanding passenger rail service in Ohio. The Cleveland, Columbus, Dayton, Cincinnati, and Cleveland, Toledo, Detroit routes are advancing for consideration. The Federal Railroad Administration plans to provide $500,000 for each route an application succeeds. The funds would cover a service development plan that outlines what would be needed to make the project successful. DeWine said, quote, "We have a lot of questions that need to be answered before we make any commitments. Applications are due by March 27th. A humane society in Hocking County has gotten more volunteers recently, which helps them deal with the always increasing amount of animals. Newswatch reporter Jacob Mata has more on the story.
Thanks, Lexi. Over the summer of 2022, the Hocking County Humane Society was taking in animals at an alarming rate. But now they have more employees and volunteers. They're much less crowded, and here's what operations look like now. The Hocking County Humane Society was packed full of dogs and cats around every corner in the summer of 2022. Fast forward half a year, and things are starting to look a lot different now. There's less animals and more volunteers to help. That takes stress off employees and volunteers who had to endure tougher working conditions over the summer.
So over the summer, all of us, we didn't have a day off. We worked every day almost. We don't work super long hours. We come in, get it done.
Much of that is thanks to the STARS program in Nelsonville, which sends people ready to re-enter society after being incarcerated to the Humane Society every day to work.
So we get 3 fellows from there every day that come up and work hard for us. It's kind of a win-win for them and for us. And they love the animals, and it allows the animals to get a lot of extra one-on-one.
The shift in numbers means more space for the adoptable dogs and more time with volunteers. But Humane Agent Lynette Blair knows there is another challenging season on the horizon.
We are still at capacity dog-wise, but a lot of it is puppies. We're coming up on puppy and kitten season. So even though our numbers are tolerable at the moment, we anticipate that we'll go up like it does every spring.
Check out HockingCountyHumaneSociety.com to view the adoptable animals and see how you can volunteer. And Lexi, it sure is great to see the animals getting the time with people they deserve, isn't it?
Yeah, what an awesome story. I think anything with animals is like something we need on the daily, for sure.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jacob. Coming up after the break, a new voting bill is put into place before this year's primary. Plus, Republicans respond to President Biden's State of the Union address. These stories and more when Newswatch returns.
Legal opioids circulating is contaminated with fentanyl.
I could do this shot and I could die.
It's lost so many people and continue to lose people in this crisis.
The community has really come together and it's just very heroic.
Aloneness is a major driver of addiction. We have become the family.
Love in the Time of Fentanyl, Monday, February 13th at 10, 9 Central on Independent Lens.
Here's what's new this month with Passport.
Kirsten had a lot of courage. She fought for Black culture.
They could have killed you. You're exactly what we need right now.
Oh my God.
What is this?
She was poisoned.
These and all your favorite shows are available with Passport. Support your PBS station and stream more with Passport on the PBS app.
On Secrets of the Dead, human remains are found in Queens, New York.
We're dealing with an African-American woman. She died over 150 years ago.
Neglected history is revealed.
It's really important that we create this rich and diverse tapestry of 19th century African-American life.
And a local community comes together.
Her life is a testament to our life.
The Woman in the Iron Coffin on Secrets of the Dead.
Wednesday at 10 on WOUB.
In West Africa, astronomers are on a mission.
This is very important.
If you don't get the data at the right second, you don't get the data ever.
Discover a history of African astronomy.
Wow, it's incredible.
And one scientist's dream for the future.
I believe space is for everyone.
Star Chasers of Senegal on Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
Welcome back. Secretary of State Frank LaRose is instructing Ohio's 88 County Board of Elections to implement voting reforms immediately. Some of those reforms include requiring photo ID to vote, allowing 17-year-olds to work polls, and extending the absentee ballot request deadline. The Ohio General Assembly adopted the legislation in December. Governor Mike DeWine signed the bill into law last month. The directive avoids violating equal protection provisions by guaranteeing changes made by the bill are implemented across all county boards of elections throughout the entirety of the early voting period and election day. LaRose said, quote, having two sets of rules and requirements for the same election would result in voter confusion. President Joe Biden delivered a high-stakes State of the Union address at a critical time in his presidency. The focus defending democracy and promoting bipartisanship to a narrowly divided Congress. Chris Wen has the key moments from the speech.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
For the first time in his presidency, Joe Biden stands before a Republican Speaker of the House to deliver his State of the Union address.
2 years ago, democracy faced its greatest threat to the Civil War, and today, though bruised, our democracy remains unbowed and unbroken.
The divided Congress setting the stage for contentious battles ahead.
Power for the sake of power, conflict for the sake of conflict gets us nowhere.
The shadow of investigations into his White House's handling of classified documents hung over the speech. Biden and his team have denied any wrongdoing. Still, he made the case that he and his party are best positioned for 4 more years of leadership.
Jobs are coming back. Pride is coming back. Because choices we made in the last several years.
In the audience, Monterey Park shooting hero Brandon Tsai and the family of police brutality victim Tyree Nichols. The president returning to a major campaign theme as he argued for police reform and an assault weapons ban.
We all want the same thing. Neighborhoods free of violence. Law enforcement who earns the community's trust. Our children have a right to come home safely.
Newly elected Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders offering a sharp rebuttal to President Biden's message with the official Republican response.
In the radical left's America, Washington taxes you and lights your hard-earned money on fire. But you get crushed with high gas prices, empty grocery shelves, and our children are taught to hate one another.
In Washington, I'm Chris Wynn.
If you're rushing to file your taxes early this year, the Internal Revenue Service says you may want to wait. 19 states handed out some sort of rebate last year, and the IRS isn't quite sure how to tax those on the federal level yet. Ivan Rodriguez talks to a tax expert about this and other helpful tax tips.
If you live in a state that issued some sort of rebate last year, experts say you should hold off on rushing to file your taxes. That's because the IRS is still scratching their heads over how to tax them. While the checks handed out by states likely won't be taxed at the state level, they may be subject to income tax at the federal level.
That the IRS is going state by state and looking at the details of these proposals or these, the details of these rebate checks and deciding whether they're taxable. And it's coming late in the process. That is the fundamental problem here.
At least 18 states issued a special payment of some kind in 2022. Jared Walczak from the Tax Foundation says they were for a variety of reasons.
Sometimes it's been about inflation, sometimes it's just the money. In a couple of states, it's been targeted, maybe for, say, individuals with children.
But what should you do if you already filed and you received one of those checks?
The standard way to approach this is an amended return, but don't do it yet because you want to wait to know what the IRS tells you to do. You don't want to do this 3 times.
With the ever-changing tax code, Walczak says there's another thing to look out for this year.
Be aware of the way that this post-pandemic era has changed how you live and work. Generally speaking, states can tax you where you live and where you earn income. This is the downside, the trade-off with the flexibility a lot of people have with remote work or flexible work arrangements, that they may owe taxes to multiple states.
In Atlanta, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
Some Republicans in the Ohio House want another across-the-board income tax cut in the next 2-year state budget. But Governor DeWine says he wants targeted tax cuts instead. DeWine proposes tax cuts to assist Ohioans with housing or other child care needs. DeWine won't say if he'll sign a budget with the GOP's provisions, especially if it changes the tax breaks he wants to provide for working families. Valentine's Day is right around the corner, and Americans plan to spend nearly $26 billion on the holiday. That's according to a survey from the National Retail Federation. On average, most people said they will spend about $192. That's up from $175 last year. The increase is mostly due to people buying gifts for not just their significant others, but friends, co-workers, and pets too. As for the gifts, the top Valentine's gift is expected to be candy, followed by greeting cards, flowers, an evening out, and jewelry. Rescue efforts continue after an earthquake in Turkey and Syria. That story still ahead.
And with the storm aiming its sights on Ohio, we have rain, but mainly wind in store for us in southeastern Ohio. I'll have more on that when we return. In the meantime, if you're looking for more Newswatch, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
On Secrets of the Dead, human remains are found in Queens, New York.
We're dealing with an African-American woman. She died over 150 years ago.
Neglected history is revealed.
It's really important that we create this rich and diverse tapestry of 19th century African-American life.
And a local community comes together.
Her life is a testament to our life.
The Woman in the Iron Coffin on Secrets of the Dead.
Wednesday at 10 on WOUB.
The war was declared in April 1917, and there was a need for encampments. Camp Sherman, close to 10,000 acres. It pulls a large number of men in. There's close to 2,000 buildings. There's this connection between the city of Chillicothe and what was happening at Camp Sherman. It's such an important piece of our history, and boy, when you're in Chillicothe, you really feel that.
Illegal opioids circulating is contaminated with fentanyl.
I could do this shot and I could die.
It's lost so many people and continue to lose people in this crisis.
The community has really come together, and it's just very heroic.
Aloneness is a major driver of addiction. We have become the family.
Love in the Time of Fentanyl, Monday, February 13th at 10/9 Central on Independent Lens.
Here's what's new this month with Passport.
Kirsten had a lot of courage. She fought for Black culture.
They could have killed you. You're exactly what we need right now.
Oh my God.
What is this?
She was poisoned.
These and all your favorite shows are available with Passport. Support your PBS station and stream more with Passport on the PBS app.
Back southeastern Ohio Newswatch forecaster Jacob Van Cleve in Athens today. You did see those temperature highs were actually quite warm with a high of 59 degrees. Now those temperatures are expected to drop slightly to 45 degrees overnight with those mostly cloudy skies. Now as we move on to tomorrow, not as pretty temperatures, not as pretty weather overall. Now you have those 70% chance of rain showers as we do actually have a system that's making its way into our region here. Now we're not expecting much rain with that system, but we are expecting warmer temperatures, high of 65. I know the groundhog saw a shadow and he said that it was supposed to be winter, but if anything, I'm expecting more spring with these warmer temperatures. Now overnight, those temperatures are going to be dropping a little bit colder down to 38 degrees as there's a cold front that'll be making its way into the region. Now that cold front and those temperatures and that rain is all associated with the reason why we have a wind advisory issued by the National Weather Service. Now here in Athens, that wind advisory is meaning we're going to have winds close to 20 to 30 miles per hour with wind gusts up to 45 miles per hour. Now up in Toledo, in the northwestern part of the state, those wind gusts are going to be going even higher, up towards 60 miles per hour in some parts of the state. Now that brings a big question to ask. What's the issue with this storm? Well, like I said, we won't be having a lot of rain with the storm, but the biggest concern is going to be with those winds causing power outages in some parts of southeastern Ohio. Now, if we look at the radar, there isn't really going on but this little blip over in Kentucky coming to our region. But as we zoom all the way out, you'll see you have this whole system that I was talking about making its way across the country and eventually going to reach us here in southeastern Ohio. Now, this map here is going to kind of show you what we have of this low pressure system sitting right here, the frontal band. But the big question to ask is the winds are going this way. We've had clear temperatures or clear skies and warmer temperatures all day, but these winds here going this direction will meet kind of in the middle, and that's where we're going to see that storm make its way through the region, and then we'll have that massive pickup in wind speeds moving on into tomorrow. Now tomorrow you see this frontal band here, that's where we see those temperatures drop. You'll see tomorrow night that low pressure system is going to move more northward. That high pressure system is now going to funnel in a region that's going to limit the chance of rain here, and then eventually it's going to sit in our region and leave us with high pressure and no rain, but those high winds. That's all I have for full weather. Back to you, Lexi.
The devastating earthquake that struck Syria and Turkey has now claimed more than 11,800 lives, but a glimmer of hope as rescue teams continue to find people buried in the rubble. Isabel Rosales reports on their race against time.
Beneath crumbled neighborhoods, signs of life. On top a pile of debris, rescuers cheer and carry a child to medical help. These two children and other survivors freed from the tangle of steel and concrete. Over in northwestern Syria, where some areas are controlled by anti-government rebels, aid agencies are especially worried. It's home to more than 4 million people already relying on humanitarian help.
This country has already been suffering from the devastation of the war. And now to have those crises, this earthquake on top of the crisis, it's like the perfect storm that nobody ever wished for.
Another worry, as cold settles in, many survivors now homeless and facing freezing temperatures. At this Istanbul Aid Collection Center, organized chaos. Food, water, and other necessities stacked high. But it's not enough. Hospitals in war-torn Syria are overloaded, says UNICEF, and the widespread damage caused a temporary disruption to the United Nations' only approved crossing to deliver aid into Syria.
The fact is the Assad regime continues to block aid, and he, alongside Russia, have stopped and blocked cross-line and cross-border aid to millions of civilians that are out in the cold.
Calls are mounting for the U.S. and United Nations to do more. I'm Isabel Rosales reporting.
The UN says it is working to set up what it calls cross-line activity to move into hard-hit areas, including those outside of the government control.
Coming up in sports, Ohio men's basketball is making a push for the MAC tournament. Find out where they stand with a month left in the season when Newswatch returns. But be sure to stay tuned to WOUB. Here's a look at what's coming up tonight on your public television station.
Here's what's new this month with Passport.
Kirsten had a lot of courage. She fought for Black culture.
They could have killed you. You're exactly what we need right now.
Oh my God.
What is this?
She was poisoned.
These and all your favorite shows are available with Passport. Support your PBS station and stream more with Passport on the PBS app.
On Secrets of the Dead, human remains are found in Queens, New York.
We're dealing with an African-American woman. She died over 150 years ago.
Neglected history is revealed.
It's really important that we create this rich and diverse tapestry of 19th century African-American life.
And a local community comes together.
Her life is a testament to our life.
The Woman in the Iron Coffin on Secrets of the Dead.
Wednesday at 10 on WOUB.
Lucy Ware Webb was born here. As a young lady, as the wife of the governor, as the wife of the president of the United States, she's always the same person. Just a terrific lady. As residents of Chillicothe, we're very, very proud of her. To have a person of that character to represent this community, small as it is, in the White House.
In West Africa, astronomers are on a mission.
This is very important.
If you don't get the data at the right second, you don't get the data ever.
To discover a history of African astronomy.
Wow, it's incredible.
And one scientist's dream for the future.
I believe space is for everyone.
Star Chasers of Senegal on Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
Ohio men's basketball continues to crawl up the MAC standings, sitting in 7th. This comes after a crucial 82-76 win over the Northern Illinois Huskies last night. Jalen Hunter continues his tear after dropping 19 points off the bench. Hunter is averaging just over 21 points a game over the last 3. He says he feels a lot more comfortable in Jeff Bowles' system. The Bobcats' defense showed out as well. The Huskies went just 26% from behind the arc. Ohio has won 4 of its last 6 games, and as you can see, those wins are crucial as the season comes to a close. The top 8 teams make the MAC tournament next month, and the Bobcats sit near the cutoff at 7. The Bobcats' remaining schedule is made up of teams above them in the standings. Ohio has to earn its ticket to Cleveland. One of the toughest tests for Ohio is Friday, in a huge matchup against the top-seeded Akron Zips. Tip for that contest is set for 7:30 Friday at the Convo. Meanwhile, the women's fight for a tournament bid is over, but the team still looks to play spoiler for a top team. The Bobcats play host to the Bowling Green Falcons tonight in a game with the #1 seed in the MAC on the line. Bowling Green is tied at the top with the Ball State Cardinals with fewer than 10 games left in the regular season. Ohio needs to be efficient from 3 if it wants to pull off a huge upset win. Tip at the Convo tonight is just a few minutes away with game time set for 7. The Tri-Valley Conference has a slate of games tonight for your high school basketball needs. The Federal Hawking Lancers play host to the Huntington Huntsmen in an out-of-conference matchup. The Lancers have been solid, winning 2 of their last 3. Meanwhile, the Trimble Tomcats have a tough game against the Chillicothe Cavaliers. The Cavaliers come into the contest with a 13-8 overall record. And finally, the defending state champions, the Waterford Wildcats, take on the Fort Fry Cadets. The Wildcats have won 7 in a row heading into tonight. Should be a fun night around the TVC Hawkins, so for updates, make sure you head over to social media at Hardwood Heroes and tune into Hardwood Heroes Sunday at 11 p.m. on WOUB. And if you're like me and you're over the winter weather, don't worry because baseball and softball are just around the corner. Ohio softball kicks off its season Friday against George Mason, and things look a little different for the Bobcats. Ohio welcomes a new head coach, Jenna Hall, who says she's excited to be back in the green and white.
Great. I feel like, being able to come back here and being familiar with the place and understand this community and this department, it's been a really easy transition, and I couldn't be happier to be back wearing green and white.
Hall gets her first chance to lead the Bobcats Friday in the Gardner-Webb Running Bulldog Classic.
That's awesome. Okay, so you know that I'm more of an NFL girl usually, but I heard something pretty awesome in the NBA world happen last night. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Lexi. I think the whole world stopped to watch LeBron James pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the all-time leading scorer in NBA history.
Awesome. How cool.
LeBron James, a shot at history, and
the Los Angeles Lakers superstar passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's 1984 record last night against the Oklahoma City Thunder. James set the new record with a fadeaway jumper from the free throw line in the third quarter. The game was halted after his achievement, and Abdul-Jabbar came onto the court with James's families and others to celebrate. James finished the night with 38 points, bringing his career score total to 38,390 points, 3 more than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's previous record. And you knew, someone like LeBron, he knew how close he was to that mark, and he was not going to be stopped last night.
That's awesome. What a cool achievement for him. All right, let's go ahead back to Jacob for a final look at weather for this week.
Thanks, Lexi. Yeah, your last chance here to look at your weather. You got a little bit of rain coming into the region here. Nothing crazy, more so going to be a heavy wind maker, but those temperatures tomorrow are going to be a high of 65, low of 38 degrees, and 70% chance of those rain showers. Here's that system as it moves on through, and then your 7-day outlook. You see, you have a nice weekend to go out and do something, but more rain ahead as we continue through the week.
Ooh, thank you, Jacob. Sounds exciting. And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. For all of us here at Newswatch, I'm Lexi Lepoff. Stay tuned for PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find the latest news anytime at WOUB.org or follow us on social media. Have a great night.
Support comes from Help Me Grow, providing home visiting, helping pregnant mothers and parents tackle the big and little challenges of being a parent. Home visiting professionals listen, answer questions, provide resources, and help parents and their babies stay happy and healthy. More at helpmegrow.org.